degree in music engineering technology from Miami, and a PhD in musicology from Finland. Her work is highly interdisciplinary, involving music, psychology, neuroscience, and music information retrieval and technology. I will just mention why I got interested in her work, because I came across their research work, which is available online, by the way. Sample of it is available online, where when you are reading a chapter from Harry Potter, right, it automatically generates a kind of a background ambience music. So it's a new way of experiencing reading with an auto-generated music. So that's again a very new way in which books and reading are being redefined. In conversation with other four wonderful speakers this evening is...
Thank you for having me here. I asked Dr. Vijay, why am I here? You know, the very next day that I would love to be there, but how do you think I could contribute? Because I do all things music. But then he did mention that there was this one work that we did last year, which was about how you can actually, we created a prototype where as you read a book, then you have music playing in the background. So how does this entire mapping happen, right? So I said, okay, fine, I'll be here and we'll see what happens. So as you all were talking, I mean, I had too many thoughts and ideas, and that is the downside or the good upside to being interdisciplinary. You can connect all kinds of dots. So I'll try to put them in some linear fashion or something that makes sense chronologically. But so I would first like to so I would like to touch upon two things. One is about how we are consuming, and then potentially about creating books, writing books, the process, right? What might that entail in the future, which I don't know, and I'm no authority, but doesn't hurt to think about it. So 2 years ago, some of these students, master students, they came up to me saying, we would like to do a project under you, and it is related to books and music. And they said, we want to generate music. While we read books, we want to generate music that matches the mood or emotion, the theme, or something like that. So, and first of all, I said, you want to generate music? That is extremely difficult. This was 2 years ago, right? Now it's a completely different scene, completely. So I said, generating music with AI or machine learning is no easy feat. It generates something, but for the, to weave it together so that it creates a parallel narrative is not an easy task, right? This is something that composers for movies and all, that's what their job is. It's not easy. But they said we just want to do it, and I'm always about, yes, you want to do something, just go ahead, right? So they tried that, and they came up with sounding music, right? If you would call it music. And I thought, okay, this is all right, it's not so bad, but who's going to listen to that? It's not that rich, Just some piano sounds playing something, sounds happy, sounds sad. That's no. I don't think. And personally, I don't like to listen to music while reading books. Music is very important, so important that my focus goes there. Anyway, they did that. They presented their work, and then came in another student who said, "Okay, let's do something else. Why don't we use an adaptation, a movie adaptation? It has a soundtrack. It's particularly created for that film, which means for that book on which it is based. And then let's try to retrieve all of that, and let's just create this experience of reading online, right? So imagine Kindle, you're reading on your Kindle and you want to listen to music in the background. So that was a very, so thanks to one brilliant colleague of mine and this brilliant student, we managed to pull the community. The research community was like, oh, this is a great idea. They gave it some award as well, saying that it has potential, all of that. So that was wonderful, where we tried to do that, and we tried to get other students to experience that, saying that, okay, is it immersive, what actually happens, right? And so they were all very positive views, so that's wonderful. So then what do we do now? One book we tried, and that itself was a year's work, right? One book to get to that point. And then what do you do when a book does not have a movie adaptation? What do you do then, right? Well, if I have Harry Potter, I can, and let's say I have Lord of the Rings, and then I could probably use, although we have an adaptation, assume it doesn't have an adaptation, then I can use another book's soundtrack, right? Because something in the same genre, let's say, right? Fiction, fantasy, medieval fantasy, whatever it is, I could do that. So this is something that is happening, it's ongoing, and I think it's extremely exciting because this completely experience of reading a book. My daughter is a voracious reader. She keeps reading the same book 1,000 times. I keep wondering why you're doing that so many times, but she experiences things differently. So if you were to read a book, let's say Lord of the Rings with Harry Potter soundtrack, or Lord of the Rings with some other soundtrack, maybe that creates a completely different experience, right? Completely. So this is something that we're trying to look at, where we can create these new experiences with the same content, right? But then what does that mean for creation? So just imagine that you have children's books, right? And you can create, it's easier because they're shorter, so it's easier to generate music, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, we can do that now, right? So create that and let them read the book. Let them reread the book, but with a different set of music. So what that means is that they start to experience the book, the characters, the world, first of all in a multi-sensory way, right, which becomes very rich. Then in future creating books or different versions of the book, because now you see Netflix, you can literally pick the ending, right? You can choose, like they create these movies where you can pick at one point, like, okay, which direction, which path is it going to take? Maybe if this becomes a very natural way of experiencing a book, then you could potentially create all these alternate paths. And because if you all know, or at least if some of you know about Ragmala paintings, right? So this is where there is miniature painting, there is a doha associated with it, and there's also music associated, a raga associated. So somehow text, sound, and vision, right? Visual elements, there is some connection. So it's not a new thing to actually experience a book with music, right? So I think that, and what is very exciting now is that this year we've had the birth, artificial intelligence tools that can generate music, which is fantastic, right? 2 years ago, when my students did something, I was not impressed. I said, no, it's not gonna sell, right? But now it's unbelievable. I can say, can you, create this song as if, let's say Michael Jackson sings with Honey Singh. I can say that, and it would generate things like that, and it is unbelievable, right? So now the interesting, I think the fun part is about to begin, at least for us, right? That, okay, so this is a text, this is the book, these are the characters, these are the emotions, these are the themes. So all this is all based on vision, language, all these machine learning models which are able to do all of this, and say now let's use all of that and create music which actually reflects something about it, right? So while this is extremely exciting, it is still, what we say, we call this a mixed automatic tool, but at the same time, you want a human to actually navigate all of that. If I just say create something, it might do something, but it's not going to be as good as someone curating all of that, at least for now. So I think that way it's a very exciting time for us to think about the future of books, how we experience it in a multimodal way, and of course it's what does that mean for film composers and writers. Actually, now there are ways in which people have shown they've used ChatGPT to write books, right? I also tried it to write. I do a lot of scientific writing, and absolutely don't like it. It picks all this interesting information, but it lacks, at least as of now, the critical evaluation of that content, right? It is just rephrasing things in different beautiful ways. It's like how some engineering students write, they don't know the answer, they write one sentence, keep rephrasing it, right? So I kind of feel ChatGPT is doing that. So I think that for writing also it's quite interesting that I'm sure it can generate shorter stories. So people have tried to do that for kids, for children, images that go with that, and music. So now, what does that mean for the very act of creation, or what does it mean to be a writer these days? I don't know. But for anyone who loves writing, I think that nothing can replace that sheer joy of going through the process, and it's just it's you're giving birth to something, right? Not as painful, but sometimes painful. so, so always painful, I know, but that's still temporary. This is so I think that when I heard the other speakers talk about archiving, right? So I was just imagining this scenario where you have, let's say that you visit historical sites. There's a lot of content, rich material that is associated with it. Now, can we imagine, everything connects back to music for me. So just imagine that if you could also, when you have blood as you're watching a monument, right? And just imagine a simple scenario where you actually listen to music from that period, right? That completely creates a wonderful experience. So I think that is something which for sure, eventually, I'm sure if someone wants to do that, we can easily get to do all of that. It's really not that much of a challenge to, when we already know this is from this period, this is the kind of music, this is what it is about, we can do it, right? But I'm also thinking about audibles now. So we have podcasts, we have people don't want to read a book, they want to listen to a book, right? And that is something that we are also sort of moving towards, trying to see if for an audible, it's the same way as the book, right? That we want to create music or retrieve music somehow and weave it in, so that as you're listening, it becomes a richer experience. Because I'm not much of a podcaster, because for me, I just listen to music and nothing else. But I realized that there was one podcast which was wonderful. It was quite heartwarming. I really liked the content and everything, but I realized that it's the music that it's played in the background that really, just pushed it over the edge. Without the music, it's not the same thing. So imagine a movie, no music. A scary movie, no music. It's going to be very slow and boring, right? So same way, I feel like it's a great time to use technology to enhance the experience, right? But I still believe that nothing can replace a physical book, right? And especially for children when they're growing, that entire experience. Okay, maybe you can add music to it, so why not? That we can create. Still have a physical book, but at the same time, you're touching the book, and so you have vision, you have touch, you have sound, and that becomes a wonderful way of learning, associating, remembering. I don't think that will ever go out of fashion, right? And that's so important. So I think if anything, we can only enhance that. But what it means for adults, and I think there are many options, and it's going to be a very exciting time, and we're really looking forward to what technology can do to enhance the experience, support it, and hopefully get reading, back to what it used to be. But yeah, I don't know how much time I have. I can just keep talking, but I can stop.
Shai tombs, then Premamati Mosque, opposite it Taramati Bharadevi, and Qutub Shahi, and Bashai Ashur Khana near Charminar, opposite Madina Hotel. So that time when our experts came, they were really shocked to see all these tombs. They were created by the original Iranian architects. Even the tiles which were used there, it was brought from Isfahan of Iran. Unfortunately, because of the bureaucracy delay and all that, it went into the gold boxes, and then now Aga Khan Trust is working on that. And fortunately, our director's daughter, Mahdiya Khajepiri, she is the architect and she is working with them. And I just wanted to mention this because if you really want to know the history and how closely, as she is from music section, I just want to tell you the Kuchipuri dance, which belongs to Andhra Pradesh, or in Telangana you can say, during Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah, he had supported and he brought that those Kuchipudi dancers and the musicians had given the full support to them, so that dance form which was created around 400 years ago, we can see it till today. So unless and until we get ourselves to the past, we cannot make our future. Thank you very much.